On Osrc News at 7, Governor Ayedatiwa to flag off Akure Idori Dualization Road project. FG World Bank partners in digital economic towards boosting private investment. Court sentenced gospel singer Osinachi's husband to death for culpable homicide. From the foreign scene, Cardinals set to convene for selection of new pontiff amid divergence of views. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the news at 7 on Osrc television. My name is Oyewumi Ayinigbara. Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa says his administration is committed to driving infrastructure development by exploring opportunities provided by pension funds. Receiving a delegation from the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, in Akure, Governor Ayedatiwa lauded the critical role of pension funds in economic growth and commended the Commission for its proactive engagement. Government House correspondent Wahab Ankole reports.
A delegation from the National Pension Commission, led by its Director General, Omolola Oloworaran, paid a courtesy visit to Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa at his office in Akure. The meeting provided a platform for critical discussions on pension reforms aimed at improving retirees' welfare and ensuring compliance with the contributory pension scheme. The Director General commended Governor Ayedatiwa for promoting impactful governance at all levels and proposed key amendments to the state pension law. These include the introduction of a minimum pension guarantee to support indigent contributors and an irrevocable standing payment order to ensure consistent remittances by successive administrations.
I'm proud to say at this moment that the state has contributed up to the last month, which is March, right? So we are very much, the state is very much compliant. What we've noticed is that a number of entities are not contributing, private entities, particularly the ones domiciled in states. So they are not contributing pensions for staff who work for them. And we know by law they should do it, and I'm sure that this is of importance to the governor, that you would like to see all private institutions in your state contribute pensions for their workers. So what I would like, if we can consider, sir, as a precondition for whether awarding state contracts or licenses or permits, that all these private institutions that require the government for anything at all to carry out their business to provide a pension clearance certificate which shows that they have contributed pensions for their citizens. I think that will go a long way towards securing the financial future of a number of citizens in Ondo State.
She also emphasized the need to block loopholes identified during the last routine inspection to enhance the efficiency of the pension system in the state. The Ondo State Pension Commission was scored over 72% in the last compliance assessment conducted by PENCOM. Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, in his remarks, reiterated the importance of pension funds in economic development and praised PENCOM's proactive engagement with states. He reaffirmed his commitment to the full implementation of the contributory pension scheme and highlighted that leveraging pension funds will significantly aid infrastructure development across the state.
CPS, contributory pension scheme, and the defined benefit scheme, that's, the area we look at what we can do, if we are going to migrate or whatever needs to be done, he will present the whole picture, then we'll look at it, the benefit, we'll look at pro and con of the same thing, then we'll agree, then we'll deal with that. So definitely. And the other one, he told me about the board chairman, yes, which I'm already scouting and looking around, so that I can put that in place, and then the regulator being a member of that board, conflict of interest. We're going to address that. But that's our first lecture on LBS, so corporate governance, conflict of interest. So we'll look into that and then make amend. The institution, the private institution, or self-funded institution like our tertiary institution that you mentioned, we'll look at that also and see how they can really come on board and do the needful for their staff. Because at the end of the day, they will leave the employment one day. So what is there for them when the strength might not really be there anymore and the bones are weak? So all of these we will look into them.
Governor Aiyedatiwa also expressed his determination to improve the state's pension compliance rating for better efficiency and sustainability. Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
Meanwhile, Governor of the state, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, is set to flag off the construction of a dual carriageway 10-kilometer Akure to Idori Road, fulfilling one of its major infrastructure development promises. The announcement was made during a meeting between the Special Advisor to the Governor on Infrastructure, Lands and Housing and stakeholders from the affected areas. Our correspondent Abidemi Akinrotoi has the details.
The planned dualization of Akure to Idori Road in Akure South local government area marks a significant step forward in Ondo State's infrastructural agenda. At a meeting with stakeholders, the special advisor to the governor on infrastructure, lands and housing, Ayorinde Olawoye, explained the vision behind the project, emphasizing its strategic importance and the numerous benefits it is expected to bring to the community.
We discovered that the traffic flow on the canal is very high now. So we discovered that we can't rehabilitate it again. We are planning rehabilitation before, but when we go on the traffic counting, on the binary field, we normally do traffic counting before we design for any road. So we discovered that we saw that the traffic in that axis is very high. People living in Okaro, they are working in Akure, and also people living in Akure, they are working at Ibadan. So the traffic is very high.
The Administrative Secretary of the Ministry of Works, Omotola Akinluyi, said the project promises great advantages.
Dualization has some intended and unintended consequences, one of which is the fact that we want to increase the width of the road will make us to acquire properties that fall within the right of way. Because they fall within the right of way, there's a need for us, for government, to acquire these land. And like it has been said in that place, the Land Use Act 1978 provides for such acquisition.
Stakeholders at the meeting speak on the benefits of the project.
It's a good development, but we are only pleading for fast speeding of the project so that our people can be able to continue their daily businesses.
It's a very, very grateful job, and we thank our Excellency for even remembering Okaro. Over 40 years or 50 years we have been living here. So, as we heard that they want to increase the road, all the residents of Osrc were so happy, and we thank him very much, and we are praying for him to finish the work very, very quickly.
In response to concerns raised, government officials assured residents with legitimate property claims that adequate measures will be taken to address their issues.
I'll just tell them I'll beseech them to exercise their patience. We are going to compensate all the affected property and that assets.
As work is set to begin, residents are hopeful that the transformation of the Akure to Idori Road will be completed in good time, enhancing mobility, boosting economic activities, and improving the quality of life in the area.
The Nigerian Labour Congress has cancelled centralized May Day celebrations in Rivers and Edo State. The national leadership of the NLC cited the letters to the NOC chairman in both states directed all affiliated industrial unions in Rivers State and Edo to organize and limit Workers' Day celebrations to the state NOC secretariats. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, has reiterated that the focus of the Apex Bank is to bring down the country's inflation. At the conclusion of the 2025 International Monetary Fund and World Bank Spring meetings in Washington, D.C., admitted that inflation is the most disruptive force against Nigerians' welfare, emphasizing the urgency of tackling inflation to stabilize household incomes and improve the cost of living across the country. In December 2024, during the 2025 budget presentation in the National Assembly, President Bola Tinubu in December 2024 earlier hinted at reducing the country's inflation to 15%. Meanwhile, the federal government and the World Bank are partnering to boost private sector investment in digital infrastructure and create quality jobs for young Nigerians. Minister World Bank IMF spring meetings in Washington, D.C. highlighted plans to expand internet access and digital services to empower youth, curb brain drain, and strengthen the digital economy. Edu noted that the initiative aligns with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, which prioritizes job creation as a strategy to reduce poverty and drive economic growth. The minister assured global investors of Nigeria's readiness for business, targeting economic growth to rise from 3% to 7% through agriculture, infrastructure development, and financial sector reforms. According to Edo, the government's focus on attracting private capital and fostering innovation will not only stabilize the economy, but also ensure that young Nigerians have valuable opportunities within the country rather than seeking them abroad. You're still watching Osrc News at 7 after the break. Court sentenced gospel singer Osinachi's husband to death for culpable homicide. Please to rejoin us for this and more. Thank you very much for rejoining us. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook at Osrc TV, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel Osrc TV Ondo. The Ondo State government has assured residents of a flood-free season as the rains sets in. To this end, amphibian excavators have been deployed across the state to clear waterways and ensure the free flow of water. Monitoring the exercise in Akure, Ondo State capital, Chairman of Akure South Local Government, Benga Fashua, said that all flashpoints in the area will be cleared to protect the state capital from natural disasters. Omoriola Ongbiji has more.
Annually, flooding has remained one of Nigeria's major natural disasters, and Ondo State is not exempted from this threat. In Akure, the state capital, years of flood incidents have not only led to loss of lives and property, but have also rendered many residents homeless, especially during the rainy season. Oduala in Akure Kingdom, Adesupa Axis, Danjuma, among other areas, are currently major priorities for the government as excavation work resumes. At Oduala in Ayedun, often referred to as a death zone, heavy equipment is now actively working to address the challenges.
And then this river is giving us a lot of problems. Last year, this river, it carry one of our children here, 22 years old. It carried both a dead body and then We didn't see till now. We didn't see the person. And then the deputy governor come here last year to come and sympathize with us here, and then with the family of the victim. Now we are begging them now. The problem that we have is this bridge, that we top of this bridge. We are telling them that they should break this two bridge, because this bridge is too low.
We beg them at least to do the channel. If they can do it well, digging it well, extending it, it will be good to go. Everything will be going fine for the community.
Special advisor to Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa on junior matters, Bola Taiwo, said the government initiated timely interventions even before the rains began, assuring residents of a flood-free season.
We have a timetable for this thing before the rain comes, and we have followed the timetable directly. We have been in Akure for quite 1 month or something working. We've been in Ondo working. We've been in Odibo. We've been in Laje. We've been in Neseudu. We've been in Dari working. We are in Leluji and Ondo now. We have to come back here because of the report submitted by the chairman of the local government to Mr. Governor that the rain is stopping some people in some areas in this area. That is why we decided to come back again.
Chairman of Akure South local government, Benga Fashua, listed areas earlier attended to, including Ijoka, Iriakari Rita Obele Axis, and Futa.
What they do here before is a curative measure, but henceforth we want to be doing preventive. Now when it happens, they look at what we can do. But from the directive of Mr. Governor, we want to start preventive measure instead of coming up with a curative attention. This we are starting in Ala at behind Ayedum. We're going as far as going to Adesupa Hotel from this axis.
Elisha Ebijimi, the flood control expert handling the project, highlighted some challenges facing the waterways, particularly indiscriminate refuse dumping, stressing that it must be urgently addressed.
You can see that there is refuse in the water, and the invert of the bridge, it has dropped. We want to beg the people of Akure to stop dumping refuse inside the gutter and the drainage, so to stop flood.
As amphibian machines continue clearing waterways across the 3 senatorial districts simultaneously, it is expected that monitoring and control of refuse dumping into canals will prevent water spillovers this rainy season. Omoriola Humbeji, Osrc News.
The Federal High Court in Abuja has sentenced Peter Nwachukwu, husband of the late gospel singer Osinachi, in a ruling found Nwachukwu guilty of culpable homicide following the death of his wife on April 8, 2022. Delivering her verdict, Justice Nwosu Iyeme stated that the prosecution had successfully discharged the burden of proof as required by law, leaving no doubt of the defendant's culpability. Nwachukwu was initially arraigned on June 3, 2022 by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, representing the federal government on a 23-count charge bordering on culpable homicide punishable by death, criminal intimidation, cruelty to children, criminal intimidation of children, and spousal battery, among others. Justice Nwosu Iyeme sentenced Nwachukwu to death by hanging on count 1. In addition, he was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment each on count 2, 3, 8, 9, 12, 13, and 18. Prohibition of trafficking in persons, NAPTIP has promised to scale up collaboration with the state and non-state actors within the West African corridors with a view to clamp down on the human trafficking syndicates operating within the region. The Director General of NAPTIP, Binta Adamu Bello, stated this in Lagos while receiving over 200 victims of human trafficking who with the agency and the NAPTIP Lagos Command Office, Ikeja. Adamu noted that while a good number of the victims were trafficked for sexual exploitation, some of them were deceived, recruited, and trafficked to Ghana and forced into cyber crimes. And now to the foreign scene. More than 1.2 million migrants from across the globe crossed the Darien jungle between Colombia and Panama in recent years on their way to the U.S. The surge sparked an economic boom in some of Colombia's poorest regions, but that wave of prosperity came to a sudden halt under President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Olumide Adeluwoye has the detail.
Thousands of migrants used to crowd this camp on the edge of the Duran jungle. Today, it feels like a ghost town. The Trump administration's crackdown on immigration has brought the flow of people here to a new standstill, and with it, the boom that had transformed the local economy. Nyack is a coastal town in northern Colombia and had become a key staging point for migrants. It has now returned to its quiet seaside self, but locals are lamenting the end of what they saw as a gold rush. Amelia Diaz-Gonzalez is a Venezuelan migrant who went from selling coffee on the street to owning a small bee shop where people heading north once camped. 2 years ago, more than 2,500 migrants stayed here each day before entering the jungle, while criminal groups profited by controlling roads and extorting migrants. The mass movement of people also pumped money into these neglected areas. Hotels and restaurants multiplied, many are now closed. Locals used to evict tenants to rent to migrants and invested in expanding their properties. These hotels grew from 1 to 4 floors, most of them now empty. Shop owner Carlos Velas says believing the boom would last was a mistake, and the sudden stop caught everyone off guard.
Of course, we had some fear, but we never thought it would be so drastic. We thought it would slow down gradually, but it hit us all at once.
But he says the wave of migrants also changed how he sees the world. In my shop, I served people from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, many other countries. Every day was a surprise. I made many friends, especially with Africans, was still in touch as locals returned to their old life. Many quietly hoped the migrants and the prosperity they brought might one day return. Olumide Adeluwoye, Osrc News.
In the coming days, opposing views within the Catholic Church will intensify as the papal conclave gathers to select a successor to Pope Francis. Many cardinals, considered inexperienced in navigating the church's complex political dynamics, face uncertainty in shaping its future direction. Questions looms over the conclave's outcome, with factions pushing for different visions for the church's leadership. Kemisola Ojomo has more.
The secretive conclave of cardinals takes place on Vatican Key, with series of votes inside the Vatican's 16th chapel to elect a new pope. Only those under the age of 80 are eligible to vote. That is a total of 135 cardinal electors, 180 of whom were appointed by Pope Francis. Among them, Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin, with similar progressive and reformist views to Pope Francis. He will be the first Italian pope since 1978. The American Cardinal Roman Bache is a conservative who clashed with Pope Francis over his reform. He could prove popular among traditionalists. The first African pope could appear in the form of Cardinal Fridolin Ambogo Basongo, the Archbishop of Kinshasa and a passionate promoter of social justice. While some favor the idea of a pope from Asia, Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Tanglas is thought to have been Pope Francis' preferred successor. In appointing new cardinals, the late pope sought to widen the reach of the Catholic Church beyond its traditional heartland of Europe and North America, and to strengthen its presence in growth areas like Asia and Africa. So new cardinals come from places like Iran, Algeria, Mongolia, Australia, Peru, and Ecuador. That wider geographical spread means many cardinals are unknown quantities here in the Vatican and unknown even among themselves, which makes the outcome of this conclave deeply uncertain. And past ones tells us front-runners often drop out of the race. In 2013, Paul Mario Borgello wasn't on many shorts lists, yet he emerged as Pope Francis. Kemisola Ojomo, OSRC News.
In sports, Liverpool sealed the Premier League title with a dominant 5-0 to a 12th-minute goal from Dominic Solanke. Liverpool quickly responded through Luis Diaz. 4 minutes later, Alexis Mark Alistair put the Reds ahead in the 24th minute before Cody Gakpo extended the lead in the 34th. Mohamed Salah made it 4-1 in the 63rd minute, with Destiny Odige's own goal 6 minutes later sealing the emphatic victory. Late yellow cards were issued to Harvey Elliott and Tottenham's Richarlison during added time. And with that, we conclude the news tonight. But before we go, a quick look at the top stories. We told you that Governor of the state, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, is set to flag off the construction of a dual carriageway 10-kilometer Akure-Idori Road, fulfilling one of its major infrastructural development promises. And we also informed you that the federal government and the World Bank are partnering to boost private sector investment in digital infrastructure and create quality jobs for young Nigerians. The Federal High Court in Abuja has sentenced Peter Nwachukwu, husband of the late gospel singer Osrc, to death by hanging. Justice Nwosu Iyeme, in a ruling, found Nwachukwu guilty of culpable homicide following the death of his wife on April 8, 2022. And from the foreign scene, we told you that in the coming days, opposing views within the Catholic Church will intensify as the Papal Conclave gathers to select a successor to Pope Francis. And that's the news tonight. Thank you very much for your time. Good evening.